Welcome to My Modern Met Maker Safety Edition. In some of the upcoming projects and crafts we're going to be demonstrating, we'll be working with tools and materials that might require an extra dose of precaution. So before you get started on your next DIY project, consider watching this video where we're going to be going over the 5 safety areas with safety measures to consider so that you can have your next crafting adventure without a hitch. Let's start with the simplest things to consider with safety, and that is protecting your hair and skin, whether that's on your hands or your face. The first thing you want to do, especially if you're going to be working with any sort of power tools, is to tie any long hair back. Making sure long hair is secured is going to ensure it's not going to get caught in any spinning power tools and cause serious injury. As a bonus, it also won't fall into other materials where you might get paint or stain or other things in your hair. In addition to tying your hair back and making sure that's out of the way of any spinning tools or even any compounds that you don't want on things, make sure your clothing isn't too loose and isn't going to get dragged through that or possibly caught up in power tools. In order to protect your hands, even while doing something like oil painting, you might want to consider using rubber gloves. Any sort of compound that you don't want to be stuck to your skin, consider putting on a pair of rubber gloves first. Now, if you're working with something that has the potential to harm your skin, like abrasive or cutting actions, consider either some leather gloves. If you find working with leather gloves on too cumbersome, but you still want some finger protection and you're not working with anything hot, you can consider this finger wrap tape. This tape is a gauze-like texture that has some wax in it, and so you can wrap it kind of messily around your fingers and then smush it down, and it will actually give you better grip on the items you're working with, as well as protect you from the abrasive materials that you're going to be using. When working with any sort of power tools or anything where there might be flying debris, you always want to make sure that your eyes are protected. So I always like to wear a pair of safety glasses like these. I prefer the ones that also wrap around to the sides. Plus I feel a little bit like a scientist. Another area where we want to consider eye protection is things like resin, any sort of compound that's going to put off a lot of fumes or chemical compounds. And for that, I specifically like to use goggle type eye protection. Finding a good pair of eye goggles that's going to cover and completely seal in so that no vapors can get in and around is going to help protect the mucus membranes of your eyes. Resin is actually a pretty dangerous thing to work with. If you don't take the safety precautions necessary, you can actually get allergic reactions to it that are not great. Many times when you're doing a craft or project that's going to require safety glasses like these or the safety goggles, you're going to want to consider a good respirator. Make sure that you check what your respirators are rated for. I have several respirators. This one here is more for debris and actual particles. Find one that's going to fit around your face well. I personally find this GVS one to work great for particles. Now on the other hand, you're going to want to check to see if your other respirators are rated for things like resin, and that's where this one comes in handy. This one has different vapors that can actually handle some of the gases and the fumes that are going to come off of resin. So make sure you're using the right respirator for the right job. DIY can get loud, and we don't want to sacrifice our hearing in order to just have some pretty fun projects, so make sure you always have a pair of earbuds, or even noise-canceling headphones can help with something like this and allow you to listen to a podcast at the same time, but consider protecting your ears as well. The final segment of this video concerns your general well-being. While you're doing DIY projects, it's so easy to get really focused on what you're doing and not take care of yourself. Remember, take breaks so that you can stop being hunched over, practice good posture, possibly do some stretches, and drink some water. Now, most DIYers or artists are guilty of this, myself included. Sometimes you'll find yourself hunched over on a floor in order to get the precise strokes you want, but try to consider consider setting up your things so that you're going to be able to maintain your best posture possible so that you won't be hurting after you finish a project. Another consideration that I don't think a lot of people think about is not to work with vibrating tools in the cold. In the cold, our joints are extra susceptible to vibrations, and so when we're working with power tools, it can cause a lot of damage to our joints and make them extra susceptible to injury and pain. So possibly consider waiting for things to warm up before you go out and start sanding away or using any sort of power tools that's going to cause vibration on your joints. We want to maintain our hands because they're what we make things with. There are a lot of stretches that you can do to help prepare your hands and arms for doing a lot of manual labor with them, as well as great ones for you to take breaks with. Some of the simple ones are to simply stretch your wrist area here by gently pulling back on your fingers. You can do this on a yoga mat as well, and then switch over and actually push down because this area needs to be stretched too. A really good stretch to do, especially if you are finding yourself hunching over a project, is to take a break, find a flat wall, press your back against it, and then take your arms, press them against the wall, put your head as flat as you can, and move your arms evenly up and down like this. Taking frequent breaks to do stretches like this are really going to help you keep your shoulders back and reduce a lot of upper back pain and neck pain. Thank you for watching and happy crafting!